Nicholas Prosper. Thankfully, there has not been a school shooting incident in the United Kingdom since the Dunblane massacre in 1996. However, there was one man who was determined to change that, and his sole ambition was to achieve lasting notoriety as a mass killer, and specifically wanted to surpass other mass killers around the world by murdering at least 30 people to achieve it. Unlike other 18-year-olds, Nicholas Prosper's idols were not footballers or music stars, but rather Adam Lanza, the perpetrator of the 2012 Sandy Hook killings in the United States. To achieve his goal, Prosper conducted in-depth research online into other mass shootings around the world, and spent over a year planning his massacre. In a chilling note to himself, he wrote, "One of the biggest events ever." Shockingly, part of his plan was to kill his family as well. While in 2024, Prosper was living with his mother and two of his siblings in a flat off Wolds Bank Drive, Luton in the United Kingdom. He had long isolated from his friends and spent much of his time searching the internet. The would-be massacre was scheduled to take place on Friday the 13th. Prosper specifically chose his former primary school due to his prior knowledge of the school's layout and security system. There is no evidence that he was bullied there. In August 2024, he attempted to buy a gun but failed. This is the chilling video where Prosper is practicing what he is planning. On the 12th of September, Prosper did manage to purchase a double-barreled shotgun and 100 cartridges from a local dealer for £650 using a fake firearms license. The dealer believed the license to be legitimate and notified police about the purchase that same day. The police informed that the fake firearms license was an extremely well-crafted forgery. When Prosper returned home that day, he started searching online for instructions on how to kill someone with a shotgun, along with search queries relating to necrophilia and the murder of Sarah Everett. Prosper continued his searches into the early hours of the next day. At around 4:32 AM on September 13, 2024, he used the shotgun to fire a test shot at a teddy bear in his bedroom. Soon after, Prosper's mother Juliana woke up and saw her son armed with a gun. A struggle ensued in which Prosper shot and killed his mother. He later placed a copy of the novel How to Kill Your Family on her body. His sister Giselle was awoken by the noise, and Prosper fired at her, not killing her at first, but as she tried to hide, he shot her in the face. His brother Cyle tried to use a knife to defend himself, but he was shot in the chest, and subsequently stabbed several times as he pleaded for his life. He managed to survive, but as he tried to escape, Prosper shot him in the head at close range. At around 5:29 AM, a neighbour called 999. By the time the police had arrived, Prosper had already left the flat and was making his way to St. Joseph's Primary School with a reloaded shotgun and 33 cartridges in a large bag. He was wearing distinctive yellow and black clothing, acting as a sort of uniform, with which he had hoped to achieve notoriety. He soon realised the school would not be open yet and hid in a wooded area for over 2 hours. During this time, he posted a video and disposed of 2 mobile phones, believing this would protect a group of paedophiles he talked to on X. He also abandoned the bag containing the shotgun and ammunition in a bush at a playing field. At around 7:55 AM, Prosper left his hiding spot and walked down the road towards a passing police car, which he flagged down and handed himself in. After blood was spotted on his face, the police arrested him. During his arrest, Prosper repeatedly said, "It's not murder." He was charged with 3 counts of murder, along with other offences, and on March 19, 2025, he was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 49 years to be served. Bigfoot steals cattle. This next video was sent to the YouTube channel Legends Beware in 2015 by a rancher known only as John P. from Union County, Georgia. John had an ongoing issue with his livestock going missing, so armed with a video recorder, he went to investigate and see if he could catch the culprits in the act. However, he got a lot more than he bargained for when he captured something non-human stealing one of his cows. Take a look. Apparently the battery on the camera died, preventing John from capturing any more footage. If that was Bigfoot, and it was actually stealing cattle, then is it possible Bigfoot is responsible for the mysterious cattle mutilations that have occurred all around the world? We know that cattle mutilations are a thing, the killing and mutilation of cattle under supposedly unusual, usually bloodless circumstances. It's a phenomenon that does not just occur in cattle. Other livestock, including sheep, horses, goats and pigs, have also been victims. Often the bloodless mutilation has seen the removal of ear, eyeball, jaw flesh, tongue, lymph nodes, genitals and rectum. The mutilations are often linked to extraterrestrials or secretive governmental and military agencies. However, some have suggested that a cryptid predator could be responsible. Could that predator be Bigfoot? There have been reports that some early settlers in New England witnessed Bigfoot stealing or eating cattle, so if they eat it, they could also mutilate it. The exact diet of Bigfoot has never been established, but it's widely believed that they are omnivores, consuming both plants and meat. As well as cattle, Bigfoot have been reported to eat deer, sheep, chickens, rabbits, along with roots, leaves, berries, grass, and other plant matter. So could it be that we are blaming the wrong thing for cattle mutilations? Maybe alien or governmental experiments are not responsible. Perhaps Bigfoot has been the culprit all along. What do you think? Ghost caught on indoor camera. This next video is a rare unexplained phenomenon that was posted to Reddit by League01. The footage was captured in the early hours of the 22nd of March 2025 by a motion sensor camera in the stairway of the poster's home. The video captured our attention due to the amount of comments it has gained. Take a look. Now there's a few things to discuss about the video. The most obvious is the orbs, although these can be easily explained as dust particles, as the poster pointed out that the area is carpeted. However, the black shadow movement by the dog cage at the bottom of the stairs is harder to explain, especially as it appears to move upwards just before the bag falls. Comments also pointed out the twinkle near the bag before it fell, but this was explained by the decoration on the bag. The poster was clearly unsettled by what he viewed on his camera, and was happy to answer all questions posed to him. He had lived in the house for 4 years. It was a new build, and only he and his wife had ever lived there. The house is located in the middle of Las Vegas, and until this incident, the couple had never felt any negative energy in the home. At the time of the incident, both the poster and his wife were in the bedroom, and he confirmed they have dogs but no cats, and that the dogs, who usually react to the slightest sound, paid no attention when the bag fell, which was out of character. Many noticed the lights that looked like eyes behind the bag, but they were explained as a reflection of the camera's infrared light from the window, and the reason the video switched to full colour at the end was due to the motion sensor activating the floodlight. It was also established that there were 2 mobile phones in the bag, and it was suggested that a text or call may have caused one of the phones to vibrate, leading to the bag falling as a result. The poster agreed that this could be possible, although he doubted it since the bag was quite heavy and loaded with his wife's belongings, and it would have taken considerable force to dislodge it from the ledge. However, despite having explanations for most of the anomalies in the footage, the poster was troubled by the black streaks, which he could not explain, and it seemed nobody else could. He began to theorize that there could be an entity present in the house of native origin, considering the building was located in the northern part of Las Vegas, in the midst of the desert. It's worth noting that long before the towering casinos and bustling streets, the land that is now Las Vegas was home to indigenous peoples, whose cultures shaped the region for thousands of years, and relatives of the tribe still exist in the area today. It's long been believed that building on sacred tribal burial grounds leads to the presence of evil spirits that torment the inhabitants, and disturbing a burial site places a curse on the area. This perspective is widely shared among indigenous cultures in the US, who believe it prevents the spirit of the deceased from moving on. So could it be that the black streaks in the video are the disturbed spirits of people who lived many years ago, or is there another explanation for the anomalies in the video that no one can quite figure out yet? We'd love to hear your thoughts on this one. The murders of Cyle Van Komen and Kevin Nelson. December 9, 2016 was a cold winter day in South Ogden, Utah, a small town in Weber County. A young man named Brock Van Komen lived at 3636 Ogden Avenue in a residential neighborhood just a block or so away from the busy Washington Boulevard thoroughfare. Brock lived in the house with 4 other men, including his 2 brothers. The house had attracted some police attention in the past after complaints about loud music and partying, but in general the men were respectful and got along fine with their neighbours. That evening, Brock and his housemates were planning to go bowling, but before they set out, they wanted to grab a bite to eat. At around 7:45 PM, Brock and one of his brothers went to the local shop to buy some quick microwavable meals. Shortly after they left their neighbourhood, 61-year-old Kevin Nelson, who lived across the street, wandered over to the house and struck up a conversation with Brock's other brother, Cyle, and his roommates. They got on well with Kevin, and it wasn't unusual for him to pop over for a chat. However, none of them had a clue that at that moment, their home was being stalked by 3 masked individuals who were waiting outside ready to attack. Take a look at this disturbing footage, recovered by police from CCTV in and around the house. The 3 perpetrators were wearing plastic masks, and at least one of them had a gun. They can be seen peering in windows, watching the occupants inside. The police later revealed that they had been observing Brock's house for at least an hour. After Brock and his brother left, these sinister individuals approached the house preparing to ambush those inside. Over the next 10 minutes, a sustained and brutal slaying occurred, although the exact details of what happened and why remain unknown. A few minutes later, one of the perpetrators is seen outside of the property running from the scene. By the time Brock and his stepbrother returned, 2 people were shot dead and 1 was seriously injured. At 7:58 PM, police were called, and minutes later they cautiously approached 3636 Ogden Avenue. From the outside there was no sign of anything out of the ordinary, but inside they were greeted with carnage. They found the bodies of 24-year-old Cyle Van Komen and Kevin Nelson. Both had been shot at point-blank range, execution style, and nothing could be done to save them. In the backyard they found a seriously injured 20-year-old Hispanic man who had been shot in the neck and was clinging to life. He was one of Brock's housemates. It appeared he had tried to flee the attackers and was shot down as he ran into the backyard. A 4th roommate managed to escape and was unharmed. Police immediately locked down the crime scene and started conducting door-to-door inquiries, and crime scene investigators remained at the property overnight, looking for any clues pointing to the culprits' identities. However, officials were very reluctant to release any information, although were quick to point out that they didn't believe there was any risk of the offenders striking again. They eventually named the 2 dead, but the identity of the 3rd victim, who was still in critical condition at the local ICU, would be withheld for their own safety. And to this day, despite him surviving his injuries, his name is not publicly known. Officials would later describe the circumstances of the shooting as disgusting, but would not elaborate on that. On Tuesday, December 13th, police officials gave information through a press release. Again, they were keeping their cards close to their chest, but did reveal that they had the CCTV footage we showed you earlier, showing the 3 suspects lurking outside the home. The footage was released to the public in the hope that somebody may recognize the perpetrators by their mannerisms or clothing, as they were all wearing what is believed to be paintball masks. Unfortunately, all of the footage was recorded in night vision, so it was lacking in significant detail. The police also stated that it was not a random attack. The house had been targeted for unknown reasons, and they were in no doubt that 3 individuals in the footage were the murderers. It's interesting that the CCTV clips have now been deleted from most informational sites, and the senseless murders do not get much attention. The police have revealed that 1 or more of the victims was specifically targeted, although they would not specify which one, and they have ruled out any of Cyle's roommates, not believing that any of them were responsible. They haven't ruled out that the victims knew their attackers, or at least had a connection, possibly through drugs, and believe the suspects had previously been in the house and likely knew the layout of its interior. We don't know about you, but we find the stalking, the planning, and the premeditation prior to the ambush particularly disturbing. The investigation into the shooting deaths of Cyle Van Komen and Kevin Nelson unfortunately lost momentum and quickly grew cold. Nearly 10 years after the incident, there is still no progress in solving this dreadful crime. Take another look at the disturbing footage. If you have any information about this case, contact either Weber County or South Ogden Police, details for which can be found on screen. Costa Rica UFO. In 2007, carpenter Marvin Badilla was working in a house in Tarbaca, a small town in Costa Rica, when he experienced an extraordinary encounter with what can only be described as a classic flying saucer. At around 4 p.m. in the afternoon, Marvin was sanding wood in the garden when he heard a strange buzzing sound. When he looked around, he witnessed an object darting back and forth, moving with speed and agility that suggested it was not a conventional craft. Marvin quickly pulled out his Motorola Razr V3 flip phone and started filming. Take a look.
William, William!
As you can hear, Marvin continually called out to his colleague William, who was in the house, but William was too focused on his drilling to hear Marvin's shouts. Momentarily, Marvin looked around to alert his colleague, but when he turned back to look towards the craft, it was gone. Marvin later described the UFO as the size of a large tractor wheel that emitted a pulsating, vibrant light that alternated between shades of blue and green. He said it moved in ways that no conventional aircraft could, and at the time he felt in awe of what he was witnessing, as well as a twinge of fear. The footage was uploaded to various social media platforms and went viral. Overnight, Marvin became something of a local celebrity, with news channels and newspapers keen to interview him about what he had witnessed. The public were excited that finally a video had been released that clearly showed a classic flying saucer, hovering just a few meters above the ground, leaving them in no doubt that this was no ordinary earthly vehicle. Oscar Sierra, a ufologist from Costa Rica, was also keen to give his opinion on what had been witnessed, and believed the object could not have been a conventional vehicle due to its size being too small to accommodate a normal-sized person. He suggested that it might be some sort of probe, similar to the ones humans recently sent to Titan. One thing is for sure, the footage fueled the ongoing investigation into the existence of extraterrestrial life, and one of the earliest camera phones was able to capture clear visual evidence of a craft that to date hasn't been explained and remains one of the clearest examples of a UFO. Costa Rica is no stranger to unexplained phenomena. Over the years, there have been various reports of strange lights and unidentified objects in the skies, and it appears to be a hotspot for extraterrestrial activity. It was also responsible for one of the best ever images of a UFO. This photo was taken over 50 years ago, and it appears to show a disc-shaped craft flying above Lake Cote. Aerial photographer Sergio Liaza captured the grainy black and white image while surveying land for a hydroelectric project at 10,000 feet. Made public in 2024, the enhanced photograph reveals a shiny metallic disc, visible only in a single frame taken at 8:25 am. Leslie Keane, a noted UFO researcher, has described it as the best UFO photo ever taken. We'd love to know your thoughts on these two. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching, keep searching, and we'll see you soon.